Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Oh yeah? Yeah! Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And I was looking at a video from a channel that I subscribe to, but to be candid with you, don't watch all that often. If I see a great title, I'll watch it. This was one of those times. The title of this particular video was The Most Honest Advice About Becoming Rich. Once again, it's from a channel called Daily Motivation. Anyway, I watched the video and, hey, simple advice about becoming rich. Who doesn't want to watch that? And the video starts off by talking about people becoming rich. It says, well, the first thing you do is you work to get a little bit of money, and then you take that money and you invest it a little bit more, and then you take the profit from that and you invest it a little bit more, all right? And then it becomes more difficult as you're growing and growing and growing. And most people, what they do is they meander away from the formula that got them there, and that's why there's 95% and 5%, 95% unsuccessful, 5% successful. But I wanted to carry that a little bit further, all right, in terms of, being rich, all right? Let's change being rich to accomplishing objectives, all right? What it boils down to really is habits versus goals, all right? Now, goals, like recently we had a couple of billionaires go into space. That was certainly one of the goals. Very sexy goal, very important goal to gain publicity for them. It was on the TV nationwide, all right? It was in the news, big sexy goal. What about what is it that really helps people to achieve a goal? Because I'm always talking about, having a goal, chunking it down into its smallest components, the challenges into its smallest components, having a new starting line all the time, and working from there. But one of the key things that you need to embrace is that a goal is kind of for all intents and purposes, somewhat of a short-term thing, all right? These guys, they flew into space, okay, now what? All right, so, they're saying they want to make it available to the public at large. Yeah, if you got $250,000 and you want to spend, 12 seconds in space, hey, that's money well spent, all right? Excuse me. Point is, it's more important than achieving the goal are the habits that you acquire and embrace and continually embrace on your journey to the destination. It's the journey versus the destination. Let's talk a little bit about habits. Habits are boring. There's something that you do a little bit, okay, I'm doing this, it's a habit, all right? But it's not something exciting, it's not something, although nowadays you see if somebody picks their nose, they put it on Facebook, but, it's not something that you would typically say, hey, look, I did this, all right? It's repetitive, it's something you do on a daily basis. It's not sexy or exciting, and I'll give you an example of this. When I was first starting off with this company, where to become a sales manager with the company, you start off in sales. One of the things that I would do is I would be reading all these different books, some of them on sales, some of them on motivation, different topics, and every single day before I hit the field, I would spend 20 minutes to a half an hour at least reading something along those lines, and it would get my head straight. And then when I would hit the field, I'm there in a positive mode, as opposed to other people. See, we all used to meet before we went out and hit the field. We were going out knocking on doors, which you can well imagine is something people say, oh boy, I get to knock on doors today, all right? But when you have that positive mindset, you go out there, you're hitting the ground running. As opposed to the other people that were there, in my group when I was, not yet in a position of leadership, that would come in and they'd be, I gotta go out, gotta hit the field, can't wait till it's over, so on and so forth. That type of thing, it's a mindset. It's a mindset, all right? And that would put my mindset in the right place when I hit the field. And what was really funny about it was if I was reading about closes, it seemed that on most nights when I would go out into the field, that particular scenario that I had read about for that 20 minutes before I hit the field would come up in action, and I could actually use it and try and do the close. And that happened so many different times. You know, what other habits? Quiet thinking time, all right? You know, you can't wake up excited every single day, but you got to put yourself in that kind of a position. How do you do that? Give yourself some quiet thinking time in the morning where you express gratitude, you visualize your objective, and you plant the seed out there so that you can get more solutions, create a dialogue per se with the infinite mind, the infinite partner, you know, and singling out a thought, making it a burning desire. You know, these are things that you accomplish in your quiet thinking time. Bike riding. You know, a few years ago I used to go and ride my bike. Every morning I would get up and I would ride my bike for 10 miles every single day. All right, it was 10, 12 miles every single day. It took me about, you know, a little more than an hour or so, maybe a little less, whatever. Every single day I would do that and just get you pumping. And the point is, when you start doing these things, it's more comfortable to do them because you say, oh, I have to get up and ride the bike. After a while, the key thing is get yourself to do something for 30 days. Make a commitment that you're going to do a good habit for 30 days. And when you do it for 30 days, it's easy to do. Actually, you become more comfortable doing it than you become not doing it. That's what it was with me for bike riding. Things, you know, these types of habits, once again, we're talking about what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. They're the little slight edge things that you do, the little habits that you have, the boring habits that you have that give you a little bit of an advantage. And here's the thing about these types of habits. They're really easy to do. Here's the downside. Good news, bad news. Good news, they're easy to do. Bad news, they're easy not to do. And experience tells me that more people fall into the second category than the first category. They become easy not to do, and then you stop doing them. You know, it's like the person that, you know, there's a guy where I was working that was like so focused on losing weight. My goodness, every day you come in and he'd be talking to you about, you know, I ate this, or I fasted here, or I'm doing this, and I've lost, you know, these ounces or these pounds or whatever. You know, a couple years later, he's right back where he was. Habits. You've got to keep them, and you've got to be dedicated to them. They're easy to do and easy not to do. Let me give you some different perspectives of things that I don't know about, but things that I can perceive. Eli, I mentioned this to you because I know you were a basketball guy. You got the two brothers. You got Steph Curry and you've got Seth Curry. Two brothers. Both of them outstanding shooters. What you probably may or may not know is that their dad, Del Curry, played in the NBA before they played, and he was an outstanding shooter. Now, do you suppose that, of course, he put up a hoop in the backyard? I mean, there's no question about that, all right? He's got a hoop in the backyard. Do you suppose that these two guys, Steph and Seth, did a lot of shooting when they were kids? I mean, that's what Del was known for. He was a shooter. That beautiful shot. You know that they did a lot of shooting, and you know that they did it every single day. But here's the other thing. If you want to be successful with these habits, one of the things that's a good thing to do is to have somebody with you, have a competition. Now, you know that these two brothers would play horse or some other game where they were shooting, where one would compete against the other. One of the things that my mentor, Bob Anderson, taught me was competition equals cash. When you can make a boring habit something competitive, something to achieve, it helps, something where you're keeping score, it helps people achieving the goal that they're actually trying to achieve. When I was managing an office, one of the things that is essential if you're going to go out in the field is that you know your presentation, right? And so we'd have a meeting every single day, and every single day we would go through the presentation. Oh, how boring is that if you're listening to the same presentation over and over and over again? So what did I do? I was thinking of different ways to be competitive. I would have speed competitions, right, where I wasn't interested in the intonation and the expressions that people were saying, giving the presentation. What I wanted them to do was to say the entire presentation or a portion of the presentation as fast as you can. Speak like the guy, how's the wife, how's the kids, how about the Yankees? The people that speak really, really fast, the fast talkers. That was the competition. We'd have a stopwatch and go, all right? And it became fun because people would, of course, bumble a little bit sometimes, or other people go through. There would be trash talking, but there was a winner, and the winner would receive some sort of a prize. Losers had to go around the building, walk around the building, or whatever. We would have some sort of a competition. And when you do that, then people know their presentation better, and then when they're out in the field, they're not thinking about what they say because they know the presentation so well. What they're doing is they're focusing on the expression of the client. And isn't that what you want in a sales scenario? You want to be able to measure how things are going in your presentation. Does that make some sense? All right, so another thing that I was taught at that time was, and this was a habit that I picked up that wasn't anything that I knew about. They said, you know what, we have tapes. And there was a guy, the number one sales guy was a guy named Tom Hopkins, and he had a set of tapes. And I'm driving an hour back and forth going to my training every single day. So every single day for about 2 hours, I'm listening to these tapes over and over and over and over again until I became Tom Hopkins. I became his expressions. I knew every single thing by heart. The same way as if you hear a song often enough on the radio, you're able to sing along with the song on the radio. You get the rhythm down. Why not turn that quantity time that you're driving into quality time? That's what I did. And I went from here to boom, there. Once I went out in the field, once I got my license starting to sell, after the first week, which was only a partial week, from the second week forward, I was the number one salesperson in that office forever and ever and ever, for as long as I was in that office. You follow what I'm saying? It's having the good habits, and you're saying to yourself, it became, to me, when I would get into the car, okay, what tape am I going to listen to today? What tape? Okay, it never even crossed my mind that I was going to listen to the radio. Why? It became a habit. You follow what I'm saying? Now, it's not something, like I said, that's sexy, that's exciting or anything like that, but it's these little habits that give you the slight edge over the people in the 95% crowd. It's the journey versus the destination. The journey versus the destination. And good habits inspire and evolve into more good habits. Give you an example. When I was riding that bike for 10 miles, okay, there was a bike path near where I lived, and I go on that bike path. But while you're riding a bike, for an hour, what are you doing? I mean, you're not sitting there, you're not like real focused on anything. I would go real early in the morning. There's a bike path. It's not like there's obstacles, It was quiet thinking time for me. A zillion thoughts were going through my mind at that particular moment in time. So one good habit can evolve into another. Let's talk about sports, for example. One of the things that's so great about sports, what do they teach you in sports? Persistence. All right? Hey, until the game is over, until the final out is made, until the buzzer sounds, you keep playing. Stamina. You've got to be able to keep going and going and going. Team play. Hey, you're not the only guy there. On a basketball court or on a baseball field or playing hockey or whatever you're playing, football, there's other people there and you're a cog in the machine. It's team play. You might be the guy who's the best passer. You might be the guy that's the best shooter. You might be the guy that sets the best screen, that opens it up for the guy who's the shooter. Do you follow what I'm saying? Team play. Responsibility. You are responsible to set that screen, to absorb that hit so that the shooter can get open. Physical fitness. All right, if you're going to play basketball and you can't run, you ain't going to be playing too much. You ain't going to be doing very well. Regrouping. Your team is losing. Time out. Let's get together. Okay, we need to make a change in our game plan. We need a new starting line. Regrouping. The killer instinct. Once you're on a roll, once you have momentum in your favor, you want to keep going. You don't want to let up. You want to keep going and going and going. You want to ride that momentum. Having faith in others. If you're the guy that's the shooter, you've got to count on that guy setting the screen so that you can get open. But you have to have faith. Or if you're the guy in a press where you go and double team, you have to have faith that the people behind you are going to cover for you in the space that you gave up to so you could set the double team. You have to get along with other people. Certainly on a team where you have 10, 12, 15 people, not everybody's going to love everybody, but when it's game time, it's like, hey, we are one, we are together, we work as a unit. Sportsmanship. Okay, at the end of the game, win or lose, you show good sportsmanship. Overcoming obstacles. All right, so maybe you have a little bit of an injury. Maybe you're not doing so well in the classroom. You have to do a little bit more in the classroom. All right, maybe you're a little bit overweight. You have to lose a little weight in order to run faster. Team building. All right, putting the right person in the right spot. You don't want to have the guy that's your worst shooter taking the final shot. You don't want to have your tallest people trying to rebound. I mean, you do want to have them trying to rebound when the game is on the line. You follow what I'm saying? You want to put people in the correct spot. Team building. Sacrifice. You have to give some things up in order to be a winner. Not everybody can be the dribbler. Not everybody can be the shooter. You have to give some things up. That was a lesson I learned actually in the 8th grade. In the 8th grade, I was a very good basketball player compared to everybody else on my team. And I got into an argument with one of my teammates one day where I said, you know, it's much more important to be the rebounder and go for the ball than it is to block out the other team. And he was saying, no, okay, it's very important to block out the other guy. So we both went to the coach. And the coach said to me and him, he said, you know what, it depends. If the guy that's getting, that you're blocking out is like, Moses Malone, an unbelievably great rebounder, Will Chamberlain, then it's more important to block that guy out than it is to go for the rebound. On the other hand, you follow what I'm saying? So you learn those things, sacrifice. You have to sacrifice your body. You're not going to get the rebound. You're not going to get the statistic. It's not going to show up anywhere, but your team is going to get the rebound if you block out the right guy. Preparation and scouting. Is it important to know the person that you're playing? Is he right-handed, left-handed? Does he like to go to his right? Where does he like to shoot from? Is he a driver? Can he shoot from the outside? If not, make him drive. You follow what I'm saying? All of these different habits you learn in sports. The same thing is true in life. It's much easier to identify in sports, but in life you have to take a look at those as well. So keep in mind, goals are sexy, achieving goals are sexy, but they're an end game. Habits are something that you keep and that you continually build upon. And remember, hey, let's not ration the passion, let's fashion the passion. I'm Eli's dad.